Good day, good people. Miss Takesha Hill, aka Hillstory, checking in with the Black History Historical Moment for my young folks. Today we're going to talk about none other than the oh so cool, oh so real, Miss Harriet Tubman. As you can see, I think a lot about her. She's on my wall. So, a little information about Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was what we refer to as a political activist and an abolitionist. Now, both of those are big words. So when we think about the word activist, the key word is act. So that means someone who is willing to do stuff about issues. The other word that I used to describe her is abolitionist. An abolitionist, the key word is abolish, means to get rid of. And what abolitionists wanted to get rid of was slavery. So Harriet Tubman herself was actually born in slavery. She was a slave in Maryland. And, you know, slavery was a very horrific, horrible, terrible situation in which Black people were enslaved and treated very poorly, beat, even killed sometimes, because they were Black. So we were living in a time in which we had people being enslaved, Black people being enslaved by white people, and they were treated very, very mean. So Harriet Tubman, being a slave, had a very, very rough upbringing. She was often beaten. She even had somebody to throw a metal weight at her head at one time, and it caused her to have very, very bad headaches for the rest of her life. So she lived in slavery. She didn't like it. Of course, no one liked it. But for the most part, people just thought, well, that's what life is for Black people living in the South. You knew that you would be a slave. You knew that you were looked at as less than, and people didn't really try to do much about it. Well, Harriet Tubman would not stand for that, and she did not want that to be the rest of her life. So one day, Harriet Tubman decided to sneak away from slavery. And although that may sound like, oh, that's an easy thing to do, why didn't more slaves sneak away? Well, for one, in order to get away from slavery, you would have to travel a very, very long distance. Like you had to go to another state. So she had to sneak away in the middle of the night from Maryland all the way to Pennsylvania. And once she was able to free herself, of course, she was happy that she was free. But when she looked back at it, it's like, I have this new life. I have this newfound freedom. But what about my friends and my family? They're still in Maryland. They're still on these plantations. They're still being beaten. They're still having their lives threatened on a daily. They still are not free. So she actually made several trips back to Maryland in order to sneak her family and friends out of slavery. And they were able to accomplish this by using what we call the Underground Railroad. Now, the Underground Railroad wasn't really a train that ran underground. It was a network, meaning that a group of people, Black and white, worked together in order to sneak slaves out of slavery, using buildings in their houses, churches, and even businesses in order to be places that they basically use. Like, you would go to people's houses and you would think it would be a closet, but it was actually a room in which they hid slaves during the day. Or people would have floorboards that they could pull up and people could hide there. People had basements and attics and secret compartments all over their houses and buildings and churches so that they could sneak the slaves at night into those businesses, hide them through the day in those crevices and sneaky spots, and then at night they could move once again. All right, so they use this Underground Railroad, this secret network of businesses and people's houses, to sneak slaves all the way to freedom. After slavery was over, she still continued her work even during the fight that ended slavery, the Civil War. Harriet Tubman was actually a spy for the North. So she actually helped America not just to free her family, but to free all slaves by being a spy in the American Civil War. So in the end, she is going to end up working on other movements such as women's suffrage. Suffrage is a big word, but suffrage just means the right to vote. So she actually worked to assist women with gaining the right to vote. She actually, after slavery, is going to help people to try to get laws more equal for Black people, because even though slavery was over, they still made a bunch of laws that made Black people still feel less than and still feel like they were still in slavery. So she's going to do this work, working for women, working for people of color, working for equal rights for all up until she passes away at the very ripe age of 91. So Harriet Tubman is a true American hero. She was a suffragist. Once again, suffrage means she fought for the right to vote for women. She was an abolitionist. Abolitionist means she fought to end slavery. And she was an activist, meaning that she acted on her thoughts, that she actually physically went out there to do the work to try to make the world a better place for everyone living in it. So our Black History Moment today is dedicated to Miss Harriet Tubman. I hope you learned something. Bye, you guys.